Hey everyone. So I'm going to wait for some people to join before I start chatting. It's Sunday afternoon, May 20th. How's everyone doing? What's going on? Let me know that you're in. Let me know that you're in. I'm not going to be on here very long. I'm probably going to only be here for about 20 minutes to 30 minutes tops because I need to wash my hair. This is like 2 weeks old, pipe cleaner curls. Hey everyone. Hey Claudette. Hey Claire. Hey Nancy. Hey Miss Tempest in France. Hey Ashley. So for those of you just joining, I'm only going to be here on for about maybe like 20 minutes because I need to wash my hair and I need to twist it because I have a photo shoot on Tuesday for hair.com, and they're going to style my hair, but I'm going to have a straight retwisted foundation for them to work with. I don't know what they're going to do to it. They're probably going to do some kind of updo. So we'll see. So I'm looking forward to that shoot on Tuesday. Yeah. I know I look like crap. I just woke up not too long ago. Well, I've been up a little bit, but I haven't washed up. So that's why I look like this. So, hey, Brianna. Hey, Ladybug. Hey, Azia. Hey, Chawa. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing you guys' names right, but yeah. So let's begin. Well, actually, everybody, let me know what's going on with you. What are you guys doing on this Sunday? Girl, you couldn't look bad if you wanted to. Always so fly. Thank you. That's not quite true, but thank you. Listen, I didn't say I'm not beautiful. I believe I'm beautiful, but listen, you've seen me looking better than this. Relaxing. Okay, good. Everyone's taking it easy on their Sunday afternoon. But I want to talk about mental health because it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And I'm really happy that more and more people are speaking about mental health because it is an issue and it's a bigger issue than we all like to admit sometimes. Especially within the Black community, we don't really acknowledge it, I feel like. Even though in the Black community, I feel like we have a lot more issues than we really admit or even understand ourselves, especially with a lot of the things that we go through, just simple things. I shouldn't even say simple things, but like everyday things like racism, for instance. Racism is traumatizing. It's traumatic. Have you ever had any direct racial experiences? I should say direct racist experiences. I remember when I was 17, I spent the summer away in New Hampshire at a boarding school called Exeter. And I was there on a scholarship. It's a really expensive boarding school. I was there on a scholarship with a few other girls from New York who were also on the scholarship. And when you went to this school, it was very obvious. It was very apparent who was there because they paid out of pocket and who was there because they were on scholarship. Now, a lot of the people in the area, it's an upper class town, at least maybe upper middle class to upper class town. So like a lot of the people there were local and they went to the school during the school year, and they were also there for summer school. But a lot of people were from all over the United States. Most of those people were there paying out of pocket. And there were a lot of people international. There were a lot of people from like Saudi Arabia and Turkey. And those people were there because they had the bread for it. But I was there on scholarship. And I remember I guess it was probably only like 5% Black. And, we would have to go off campus to get basic needs. There was a Walgreens, maybe like a 10-minute walk away, 15-minute walk away. And I remember one evening I was with the girls that I came with, like the other New York girls, as well as some other girls I made friends with. I made friends with a Mexican girl from California, a Black girl from Chicago, and a Black girl from Tennessee, I believe. She was from Tennessee. So I was with it was probably like 6 or 7 of us, the New York girls, and then the other girls I just mentioned from those other places. And it was probably like 7 p.m. So like it was still light enough because it was summertime. So it was still light enough outside, but it was you know, it wasn't bright. It wasn't bright out. So we're walking back to the campus with whatever we bought from Walgreens, and a car drove by. And they drove by pretty slow at first, and they rolled their windows down. It was guys, white guys, and the guy in the driver's seat and the guy behind the driver's seat. They stuck their heads out the windows and just screamed at us and called us niggers, and then they drove off, sped off. I kind of just brushed it off. I was just like, whoa, like, wow. But a lot of the girls who I was with, they were like really taken back. Like, I don't know why it didn't affect me the way it affected them. I guess, I don't know, maybe I was just a little more aware, but a lot of them like were like in tears and stuff. One of them ended up like complaining to the headmaster, principal, whatever you want to call it. And we ended up having an assembly the next day, an assembly about like racial tolerance and things like that. And I was just like, wow, that's crazy. But like things like that, like obviously I wasn't affected the way my girls were affected. It was more traumatizing to them. But honestly, I don't know why I didn't really care that much. I just know sometimes white people be whiting. I don't know. But little things or things that seem little like that can really be traumatic to people. But last year was really, really rough for me. Actually, well, yeah, it was. But the year before that was much more rough for me, 2016. And I experienced some trauma in 2016, and I was having nightmares, like constantly having nightmares that was like related to the trauma that I experienced. And throughout my waking hours, I would just like think back to it, and I would be in like a daze and stuff like that. I ended up starting therapy last year, and I was diagnosed with PTSD. I was like, whoa, I think that's pretty extreme. My therapist explained that there's different levels of PTSD, and I was at the first level, so like the bottom level. So I didn't have it to an extreme level. After therapy, I had therapy for several months, and by the end of the therapy, she told me that she didn't think that I had it anymore. She felt like I didn't have PTSD anymore because I stopped having the nightmares, I stopped having the triggers, and like I wasn't consumed with what I experienced anymore. So I don't have it anymore, but I had it. And I was thinking about the thing that caused me to have that. I feel like so many people experience similar traumas and even so much worse traumas. And a lot of those people don't seek any sort of help for it. So, and I'm speaking specifically to the Black community. I'm sorry, I see you guys are like writing a lot of comments. I'm just going to be talking right now, and I'll come back to the comments in a few. But I feel like especially in the Black community, we experience similar traumas that I experienced, and even more. Like, consider like all of the police encounters we have. I don't know if you guys watch Dear White People. But if you don't, I really feel like you should. It's on Netflix. And one of the characters, he was at a party and there was like a fight, or like a fight about to go down. So somebody called the police. The police came, and there were white people involved, but the police was only like addressing the Black guy. And eventually the police, and I'm sorry if I'm spoiling the show, but listen, they pulled out a gun on the Black guy because they didn't believe that he was a student at the college. And he was, the Black guy was clearly very affected by the fact that he just pulled a gun on him for no reason. Like, it wasn't even that big of a deal. He pulled his gun out on him so he could show him his ID to prove that he was a student, even though everyone there was like, no, he's a student. He goes to the same school as all of us. We're all students here. But for whatever reason, he pulled his gun out on him and made him prove that he was a student. And later on in the series, you see how it affected him in a lot of different ways. And I know that this happens every day in our community when it comes to police, police encounters, just police being overly aggressive, police brutality, and things like that. And I know that That's something that we don't really address as far as in a mental health capacity. Something like that is going to give you PTSD. I don't remember if he was actually diagnosed on the show, but he definitely had PTSD, way worse than what I had. Like I wasn't having like hallucinations or anything like that. I was just having nightmares, and I just kept being triggered to the point where I would something little would remind me of what I experienced. So yeah, so this police encounters is just one example, but there's a lot of things that can trigger PTSD. When people talk about PTSD, people tend to talk about like the military and the army, people going to Iraq and Afghanistan and things like that, and dealing with the killing, like in war, like having to kill someone, or maybe having your partner killed right next to you, and just seeing all the death and destruction in front of you. That's going to give you PTSD, obviously. So that's what people tend to talk about for the most part when they address PTSD. However, people don't consider rape victims very much. And I don't know an exact statistic, but I believe like 1 in 4 women, maybe even more than that, but for the sake of this conversation, I'll just say 1 in 4. I'll just throw that statistic out there. It might not be accurate, but it's said that 1 in 4 women experience molestation or rape in their life. And obviously that's gonna create PTSD. But that's not something that we talk about. 1 in 4 women experiencing rape, that's a lot more than the people who experience PTSD from battle. But yet when we talk about PTSD, we always talk about battle. Just seemingly simple or usual, normal, everyday things cause mental health issues. And I feel like, we have physicals. We go to the doctor every year for physical. We go to doctor if we have issues. If you, like me, you go to doctor every year or two to get your eyes checked, to get a new prescription if you need it. Women, we go to the doctor every year. Some of us go more frequently, some of us go less frequently, for a pap smear to make sure that our feminine health is good and everything. Make sure we don't have cervical cancer or anything like that. But do we go to the doctor for mental health checkups? No, that's not a thing. Is it? Let me know if that's a thing. If you maybe in your community it's a thing, but it's not. I feel like we should. Maybe I should speak to some healthcare providers and give that, like, let them know that I think that that's something that we should start doing. Maybe that could make some kind of influence. Maybe, you never know, right? But I feel like mental health checkups need to be a thing. And I feel like the easiest way that we can do that is if we have a therapist. I know that all of us don't have, health insurance to be able to afford that. There are cheaper alternatives. Talkspace is an app that you still have to pay, but it's a lot cheaper than going to therapy, like going actually to a physical therapist location. So if you guys are interested in like a cheap alternative, look into the Talkspace app. They pair you with licensed therapists, and you kind of text them every day, and you can talk your issues out that way every day. So that's a really good idea for those of you who are interested in Talkspace. And I'm not sponsored by them. Maybe I should hit them up, but yeah, Talkspace is a really good app. So if you can afford it, if your insurance covers it, I definitely recommend that you seek therapy, even if you didn't have a traumatic experience or whatever. It's really good to be able to speak to someone who, doesn't know you, who doesn't have, certain biases, so that you can express what it is that you're going through in your mind, because we don't get to do that on a daily basis. Now I'm going to go to the comments, and then I'm going to go back and chat. Someone says that they have PTSD as well. Someone studying for their finals. Just got out of work. You can talk about anything in the Black community. You can't talk about anything in the Black community. I see what you're saying. Yeah, because a lot of people will just write you off as crazy, or people will revoke your Black card, or people just tell you to go pray about it. Now, praying is really important. I feel like praying is helpful, but that's not the end all be all. Okay. Spiritually cleanse yourself. Yeah, you know what? I haven't done it in a while, but I used to soak in the bath with pink Himalayan sea salt, and that's a way that you can spiritually cleanse physically. I can talk more about that in this whole separate video. I don't want to go in about pink Himalayan sea salt, but it's really good salt to use for bathing, for a spiritual cleanse. Thank you. My hair is a hot mess. You have no idea. But thank you. How's your therapist? I'm trying to get one for myself, but for a minor, I have to go through my mom. Okay. Well, I don't have a therapist anymore. I may start back eventually. Like I say, I feel like it's important to have these mental health checkups, but currently I don't have a therapist anymore. I've worked through the issues that I have for the most part, so I feel comfortable on my own now. But she was really good. I was, if you read my book, then More Than a Hair Journey: The Black Woman's Guide to Self-Love and Lock Maintenance, then I had a holistic therapist in 2015, and she was interesting because she was a holistic therapist, so she had like a lot of kind of like alternate methods. Like if any of you guys watch Iyanla Vanzant Fix My Life, you know that when she does therapy with her clients, I guess, she does like a lot of like hands-on kind of activities, which can, like, from the outside looking in, it can seem really weird and like, how's this helping me? And my holistic therapist did some similar things like that. And I just thought it was kind of like weird. It wasn't what I needed at the time. What I really needed was to talk out my issues. So I stopped going to her. Although I don't not recommend going to a holistic therapist. I do find that very valuable, but I feel like you have to be in a certain headspace for that to be the right thing for you. So definitely try it if you're interested in a holistic healing. Definitely go for it. But most recently, in 2016, when I started, and I think I stopped speaking to this therapist earlier this year, maybe in February. Excuse me. So maybe I think I was speaking to her from October to February. And I was speaking to her through the Talkspace app. So we would text every day in the morning and in the evening. And that really helped. She was really good. When I went to the app, I was able to choose who I was matched with. Basically, like they have like what's the word? I can't think of it right now. But basically, when you sign up for the app, they ask you if you have any preferences. And I told them I wanted a Black woman from New York City who had like some sort of foundation in spirituality and I'm not sure if I said Christianity. But yeah, I wanted a Black woman. And I had one, and she was relatively young. I think she might have been in her early 40s or 30s or late 30s or so. And I found her very helpful, very, very helpful. And what else was I going to say as far as my experiences with therapy? Oh, I've also had Reiki therapy. For those of you, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Reiki therapy, but it's not necessarily therapy. It's more like a how do I explain this? So basically, what I only did it one time, but basically you're laying down on a like a surface, a bed or something like that, and the healer, they put I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. I can't really explain it, but they like go over your body with a certain energy that they're trained, and they're able to like find certain areas in your body that you may have certain blockages in, and sometimes it's related to your chakras. And what she's is I find it so hard to explain, but she told me that I needed work in my third eye chakra and in my root chakra. And she was able to, by the way, it might sound like what the hell, like what's going on, but I absolutely felt the energy as she was doing it. So I'm sorry, I'm not the one to explain about Reiki, but that's something I did one time as well. Let me go back to the comments. I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. In the Black community, we have so much stress. I worry constantly about my beloved as he lives in New Jersey, and when he has to deal with the police, I stress and I'm fearful until I hear his voice. And we are sometimes afraid of the stigma attached to going to mental therapists. The myth of the strong Black man and woman has taken its toll on so many. No one can be strong all the time. In my community, is not a thing because I'm in the church and they don't believe in getting help outside of the church. Yeah, that's an issue on its own. My insurance only pays for 20 visits a year. I think that sucks. 20 visits a year is not bad. I mean, that might sound like a little bit, but that can be very helpful. So don't take that for granted. Yes, health insurance does not help a lot with getting help. It costs so much to get therapy, and sometimes insurance is very limited. The deductibles are so high, you can't afford it either. Everyone loves to pray things away, but why have people on earth to help that if the only thing you do is pray? Exactly. Yes, we have healthcare professionals, and therapists, and healers, and things like that for a reason. So it's good to pray as a complement to getting outside help. There are people in the church that you can talk to that are just as good as a therapist and free. If you're fortunate enough to have that in your church, that's great. But every church doesn't have that. Every church does not have that. Love you, Miss Charmaine. Gotta go take care of this here. Blessings. Are you religious or spiritual or both? I think I'm both. I mean, from my perspective, I'll just say that. From my perspective, I'm both. You know, a lot of religious people will look at me and say no. But from my perspective, I'm both. Right. But I just don't like being involved in the spirit all day, every day. That's just not my thing. Mainly because people will rat all of your problems to other church members. Were you enlisted in the armed forces? No. Okay, so back to what I was saying. So I've been on here for 23 minutes so far. Okay, good. So I'm only gonna stay on here for like another 7 minutes, so this video is not super long. What religion? What difference does it make? Honestly, I feel like religions are most of them, the Judaic religions, you know, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, they all have the same roots and mostly the same ideals, very similar practices and beliefs. The texts are very similar as well. Where did you determine the PTSD stemmed from? Well, Corey, I'm thinking that you just joined. So when this video is on my channel, you can definitely watch from the beginning because I discussed this already. But yes, I realized that yes, we were just all talking about in the comments. Sometimes it's just not afforded to us to be able to have therapists and go to therapy because insurance and the I don't know why I can't say this word without stuttering. Deductibles sometimes are just not affordable. So I feel like at minimum, we all need to be having a journal. A lot of us are not writers, I understand. So it's different for me to speak on journaling because I am a writer at my core. I am a writer. but a lot of us don't like to write. But I think that at the end of the day, we have to push that aside and write, even if you're writing it on your phone, on your notes app, or if you're even if you're doing voice memos, you can record your voice talking about it. But whatever it is that you're going through in your mind, it's important to talk it through, because when you verbalize these things, you're able to think on it on a different level. Or if you when you're writing it down, you're able to think it through to a different level, and it will help you dig deep and really help to change your perspective on certain things. Because I feel like a lot of the times where our mental health issues come from are because of our limited perspective on our situation. And I think that's a lot of times why people are depressed, because you're looking at your situation from one angle when you really ought to consider, different perspectives on your situation, and that can make you feel better. And I don't want to downplay. I don't want to downplay the more serious mental health illnesses. I don't want to, and I use that term very cautiously. I don't want to say more serious, because at the end of the day, depression, PTSD, and anxiety are or can be very serious. But right now, I want to address like illnesses like bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. A lot of the times, people with those diagnoses are really better off taking medication. Some of you may know, if you read my book or if you've been following me for a long time on this channel, then you know that I was a professional in the mental health field. I was a caseworker for almost a year until I had to quit because it was too draining on me and I had my own issues. And it was a lot that I dealt with when I quit. I actually dealt with my own personal trauma while I was working there, and that's honestly the reason why I quit. So, and working with those people, oftentimes, some of those people, man, I felt like, listen, you do not have the diagnosis that you were given. In America, I don't know how it is where all of you are from. I know we are international here, based off, your comments and stuff. But in America, it is so easy to get a mental illness diagnosis. All you have to do is go to your a therapist or a psychiatrist or whoever, and tell them. I don't want to tell you guys what to say because I don't want to encourage this. But from when I was working in this field, that's when I learned this. All you have to do is tell them certain symptoms, and then they'll be like, okay, you have bipolar disorder, whichever one, and then they will recommend a medication and put you on that. And sometimes they will give you a therapist. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll just give you a medication and go. And I think that is such a huge flaw in the mental health industry. I guess I can say that. It's a huge flaw because very often, the goal is not to, get to the root cause of your situation and, fix it from there. No, the goal is finance. Like, they're trying to make money off of the medication. And that's a whole separate conversation. But you all know, you all may have your ideas. I personally do. I believe that there's cures for a lot of these things. I believe that there's cures for cancer. I believe that there's cures for AIDS. And they just don't want to give it to us because the money is not in the cure. The money is in the treatment. Like, as far as like chemotherapy, for instance. All the medicines that they give you when you have certain illnesses, the money is when you're constantly buying the medication to maintain like an equilibrium, as opposed to them working towards getting to the issue, getting to the root cause to fix it. And that's a real big problem. I feel like that's when we lose our humanity, when we value the money over the cure. I think that's a sickness in the society, and it's disgusting, to say the least. My husband is from I'm reading comments now. My husband is from New York and experienced multiple traumas growing up. I bet. His mom's death was a trigger, and he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and paranoid schizophrenia with psychosis. I'm currently pursuing my second master's in clinical mental health counseling to help others in our community understand mental illness in minority communities. Thank you for sharing this with us. Thank you for your service. Well, you're saying that you're pursuing your master's. So I don't know if you're already working in the field, but thank you for what you've done so far, and thank you for continuing to pursue it because it's definitely needed. And I'm sorry about your husband. I hope that he's doing well. I appreciate you bringing up this topic. In the Black community, we don't talk about our issues. I'm one who doesn't talk, and when everything has piled up, I explode, most of the time on the wrong person. I'm working on it and attempting to take the steps to seek help. Thank you for bringing this up. Honestly, your situation is probably the most prevalent, the most common, especially within our community. And honestly, just with people in general. That's not just a Black thing. People have our issues, and we don't want to feel like a weirdo, so we just hold it in. We hold it in until we can't hold it in anymore, and then we explode. And that's when we have our anger issues and things like that. And it just causes so much more issues in our lives. And I feel like that's a really, really big issue, especially with men, because men are socialized in societies all over the world. We're socialized. They're socialized. I shouldn't just say they're socialized, because women are socialized to treat men this way too. So men do it to themselves, and women help to perpetuate the way men are socialized. We want them to be strong. We want them to be our rocks. We want them to be supermen. But men are people too. And just like women, we know we have our inner girls. And when I say that, like our inner child, when I say that, I mean like all of us have certain things that we went through when we were children that helped to mold us into who we are today. And a lot of the times, those things that mold us we're not good. And when we don't express those things, they end up manifesting in terrible things within our lives. And we treat men as if, they're soft if they speak about their issues, and they shouldn't be sensitive. They shouldn't be emotional. And the more we tell men that they should not be emotional, the more emotional they become. Because telling them that don't be emotional is not going to cure what it is that they're dealing with. They're just going to suppress it, which ends up exacerbating whatever issues that they have. So we have to stop shaming men for being emotional. We have to stop shaming men for expressing their feelings, expressing themselves. Stop calling them gay. Stop calling them, unless they're gay, that's fine if they are gay, but stop associating certain feelings to sexuality, or that's a good word, sexuality. Like it's really sad. Listen. And I want to speak on men a little more, because I feel like it's very common for men to say things like, it's gotta man up and deal with it or whatever. We appreciate you for wanting to be strong for us, but in the long run, you have to be strong for you. And in my opinion, the real way for us all, men and women, to build that actual genuine strength is by facing our issues, speaking on them, and doing the work to get through them, rather than putting on a hard exterior, a hard shell, being stoic, and just shutting down when certain issues arise. Okay. Now I'm going back to the comments a little bit. I know someone that has DID, and they have multiple personalities, and each personality is a totally different person. It's super scary. I'm sorry to hear that. Just joined in, and you're not lying. The money is in the treatment. So that's why we are sold drugs and not cures. Absolutely. That's why I feel like they killed Dr. Sebi. Dr. Sebi was curing people with AIDS. He was curing cancers and reversing cancers and things like that. And listen, they're like, you're not going to take away our funds. You're not going. That's what you're not going to do. So they got rid of him. I mean, that sounds like a conspiracy theory. Maybe it is, but I believe it is. Like, how did he just suddenly get sick and die? Come on. Anyway, I think I said all that I needed to say. Before I wrap this video up, let me just make sure that I'm not leaving anything out. Definitely, if you're still watching, please engage in the comment section or in the chat. Mental health, I covered my experience. Oh yeah, when I was working with people in the mental health field as a caseworker, I remember saying, I feel like some of these people did not need to be diagnosed. They did not need the treatment. They did not need the medicine that they were given. And obviously, in the position that I was in, I can't tell them, oh no, you don't need to take this medicine. You don't need to take that. Like, oh, you just go to your therapist. I can't tell you that. Like, I would lose my job. I could get sued. All of that. That's malpractice. That's not what my job was. But honestly, a lot of the times people are just quickly diagnosed with something that's not their true issue. Sometimes your issue will be resolved when you just work it through, go to therapy, speak to someone. Even for those of you who can't go to therapy, I hope that you have someone in your circle that you can trust and just speak on your issues. It's not fair to yourself to deal with depression and anxiety, especially depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Those are three diagnoses that I feel in particular that you can work through by talking to someone. I'm not going to speak too much on schizophrenia, bipolar, things like that, because when I was working with those individuals, I felt like not all of them. Some of them I felt like I couldn't really get through to them by with counseling. So you know, you have to figure out what's best for you, but definitely try the therapy route before you try the meds route. Thank you, Azia. Same to you. Hi, Keisha. I suffer with depression and PTSD, so thanks for shining light on the subject. My son suffers with bipolar schizophrenia, will not take his meds. Hospitals are part of the problems. Yeah, and the way these hospitals are set up, oh boy. Yeah, the way that it's just the psych hospitals are just trash. So I guess that's it. I guess that's all I really wanted to say. I should take notes first so I know I wasn't missing anything. But yes, and okay, I want to end on this, and I think this may be helpful to some people who are dealing with mental health issues like bipolar and schizophrenia and depression, because people with those three, for example, tend to say, I'm bipolar, I'm schizophrenic, I'm depressed. And I think that it's really important that we stop using that vocabulary. I think that we should say things like, I have bipolar disorder, I have schizophrenia, I have depression, as opposed to saying that I am those things. Because when you say that I am depressed, I am bipolar, I am schizophrenic, you are limiting yourself, or is that the word? You're reducing yourself to those diagnoses when that is not what you are. That's not what you are. That's something that you deal with. That's a struggle that you have, but that is not you. I hope that makes sense. And I feel like the more you say it like that, the more compassion you have for yourself. And even when you're referring to someone else, say you know someone who has one of those diagnoses, don't say, "Oh, he's bipolar, he's schizophrenic." No, he has bipolar disorder. He's battling bipolar disorder. He's battling schizophrenia. She has schizophrenia. I think that it's more humanizing when we speak on it like that, as opposed to calling them their diagnosis. That's not fair and it's not right. We don't tell someone who has cancer they are cancer, or you know what I mean? Like we don't do that. So why do we do that when it comes to mental illnesses? It's not fair. You're not your diagnosis. Yes, exactly. Queen Melanin Queen. So with that being said, I'm gonna head out of here. I'm gonna wash my hair. I'm gonna retwist it. I'm actually gonna use gel. I haven't used gel for a retwist in a very long time, but I have a lot of frizz I want to maintain. Like I said in the beginning, I have a shoot on Tuesday for hair.com, and I want to make sure my hair is in tip-top shape. So I'm gonna wash it, get rid of these old curls, beach waves, whatever you want to call it. Although it's pretty, but ooh, girl, what's going on here is not okay. So I'm gonna get out of here. Everyone have a blessed day. Thank you, Ladybug. Everyone have a blessed day. Have a blessed Sunday. And I hope that what I said resonates with you on some level or another. And stay well. Okay, how do I end this? Okay. Enjoy your days.